SGA gives his teammates Rolexes and then makes the Wolves watch OKC dominate the paint. Will the Knicks and Pacers deliver another classic tonight? Will Tom Thibodeau mercifully end the woes of the Knicks starting lineup? The Nuggets make it official with their head coach, but is the relationship moving too fast? And is Luka Doncic going to use his membership to LA Fitness? That's all today on Locked On NBA.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On NBA. Happy Friday, and thanks for making us your first listen of the day. We are free. We are available wherever you get your podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. I'm Doug Branson, host of Locked On Hornets, and your Shot Clock Sherpa, guiding you through the NBA's biggest stories with the help of Locked On's local experts. And I have two of the best with me, as always, from the Locked On Nuggets podcast and senior NBA writer for the Action Network, Matt Moore. Matt, SGA wins MVP and then gives his entire team new Rolexes. If you win Sports Take Artist of the Year, what are you getting Hayes and I?
I will get you 90s bobbleheads in honor of how old the three of us are. That's what we will do. 90s bobbleheads. Get everybody. But Hayes can get Horace Grant. That'd be an excellent one, I think, for Hayes. And Doug, you will receive Muggsy Bogues because he's the best.
I love it. I think the resale value on the bobbleheads versus the Rolex is a little uneven, but I'll take it. From the Locked On Bulls podcast, we've got Hayes. Hayes, if you win Sports Take Artist of the Year, what are you getting us?
All those old school starter jackets.
There you go.
And sunglasses. That's what we're doing.
All right, the Thunder and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander left little doubt about who the best team and player left in the playoffs are. Rylan Stiles of Locked On Thunder breaks down how the Thunder broke the will of the Wolves in Game 2. Let's take a listen to that, and then we'll come back for Matt and Hayes' take.
This was the most cohesive, meaningful game that the big three have ever played together with SGA, J-Dub, and Chet. It's all starting on the defensive end. I mean, to hold Minnesota to 28% from three again, because you're spoon-feeding them shots that you want to live with, and you don't allow them to get consistent enough offense. Neither one of them shot well. 28% from Minnesota, 27% from OKC, but the difference was the command in the paint from the Thunder. A lot of this can be boiled down to the frustration that the Thunder place on teams because of their ability to have these avalanche-like runs with their defense. The way that they can turn you over, force you into bad shots, bat around rebounds to where even if you're the bigger team and the stronger team and the more imposing team down low, the way that these little guards and forwards from the Thunder race in there and bat the ball out of your hands is dejecting from what you know should have been a second chance opportunity for your club. Instead, it's a fast break opportunity for Oklahoma City.
All right, Matt, what do you think about Ryland's analysis there? Was this death by 1,000 deflections from Minnesota? What has allowed OKC to completely control the terms of engagement in these first two games, particularly when you look at that three-point shooting mark, pretty evenly bad by both of these teams in this game?
Yeah, but I think the key here is that Minnesota's defense isn't kind of built to be like, we're going to put five guys in the paint and swipe at you and just deny you that and dare you. Like, they want to defend at all levels, right? So you've got more of these kind of angles. And I want to give Shai a lot of credit because I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, particularly in Game 2, absolutely dominated with his ability to shape the floor. So the Wolves were freaked out by the matchups and kept bringing help, and then he dished to open shooters. 8 assists for Shai alongside the 38 points. It's one thing for him to be able to use snake moves in pick and roll situations to create high leverage shots that he can knock down. They can live with that. They can't live with 38 and 8 assists. So to me, it's Shai doing that on the offensive end. On the defensive end, I'm sorry, it's shot variance. It just is. Like, they're doing a great job closing out, and at some point it's just like, this is who OKC is. But I've sat down and watched all those shots, Hayes. They're open. They're just missing.
Yeah, it's the combination, like you said, of Shai's offense and the offense overall and the defense. And I think with the OKC Thunder, if you allow them to get out to any type of early lead, their defense is so good, regardless of the shot variance. It comes down to it. It's difficult to come back on them. They went into that at the end of that first half up by 8 points. They came out in the third quarter. They created more separation. But while an 8-point lead isn't anything that's unbeatable, we've seen bigger leads fall apart in these playoffs. But with the stifling defense that the Thunder do play and how many different looks and how they do rotate out and all those type of things, it's just difficult to get into a rhythm if you get out to an early deficit. You have to come out and match their energy early. And so I think the Thunder getting out to an early lead in game 2 really created the difference there with the defense that they were able to play.
What has to be demoralizing for Wolves fans is that the Wolves finally get a little bit more disciplined with their turnovers. They only commit 14 of them in this game, and yet OKC gets 22 points off of those turnovers compared to 10 on 8 OKC turnovers. That's a killer, and they look demoralized at times. Jalen McDaniels, he gets a flagrant in game 2 after he's visibly frustrated by SGA hooking his arm. Anthony Edwards got that tech for throwing the ball towards SGA in game 1 after appearing frustrated by a foul call. Hayes, when are the Warriors going to start charging SGA rent for the studio apartment he has in their head right now?
I mean, he needs to start now. You might as well get your funds now. Get your money while you can, young fella.
I think when I look at how the Wolves are kind of responding to all this, I think they need to do better about these type of things. They're also just leaning so far into bad matchups. Like Dante DiVincenzo keeps winding up. They're hunting him, and Finch keeps trusting him, and I don't understand it. Like SGA was 3 of 3 for 6 points against DDV in this game in a minute and 25 seconds of matchups. Like, it's instant buckets, instant. And they keep benching Mike Conley because they're worried about him, but their net rating is so much better. I really can't stress how bad the game plan and the execution of a bad game plan have both been by Minnesota so far in the series. Give all the credit in the world to OKC. They are a monster. They're better. They're winning the finals. Minnesota's also just got a lot they can clean up heading back to Minnesota.
Oh, well, speaking of that, Locked On Wolves host Ben Beacon says, enough is enough. It's time for the Wolves to wake up and make major changes for an opponent unlike anything they've had success against in the playoffs so far. Let's take a listen to that.
OKC is a completely different animal than anybody the Wolves have faced. They're the best team in the NBA. And if the right thing to do is to sell out to try and stop the MVP and make Lou Dort and Aaron Wiggins and Kenrich Williams and, whoever else, even Jalen Williams, I don't care who it is. Anybody but SGA, if you're going to make them make semi-open threes, that seems to be very similar to what OKC is doing on the other end of the floor. And maybe you're not as good at it as OKC, that's fine. But then, there's other factors at play here too. In theory, Julius Randle is a better second option than J-Dub. I'm not saying that that's for sure the case. I mean, we're talking about, but the Randle that we saw in the Lakers series and the Warriors series is. And so I think Minnesota needs to be more willing to sell out and play that more sort of a gimmicky type of defense, especially now that they're down 2-0.
Matt, would the Wolves have benefited from a 7-game series with the Nuggets like the OKC Thunder went through instead of the 2 flawed teams they faced in the Lakers and the Warriors?
It would not have gone 7. It would have gone maybe 5. Maybe. That's how much the Wolves are a matchup advantage over Denver. Styles make fights, man. And I get it. It's like, no way. Like this Nuggets team pushed this team to 7. They stole game 1. I've watched the end of that game 15 times. I still can't tell you how Denver won that game 1. I have no idea. They got blown out in game 2. They got blown out in game 7. They lost 2 close games, won 1 close game, won 1 game when it was game 6. Like, really, that series was, I don't think, as close as it appeared. I don't think that after the Thunder won game 5, there was any chance of Denver getting out of that series. Minnesota probably could have used a tougher opponent to warm up against in terms of the Warriors. I just kind of think, though, that overall, there's a little bit of an adjustment here. It's mostly really that the Thunder are presenting a gambit here. We don't think you can hit open shots. We don't think you, a good 3-point shooting team, can hit open shots. And the Wolves are like, all right, bet. Oh, no, we lost. Like, that's pretty much the series so far, Hayes.
Yeah. I mean, it's I don't know if going in the 7-game series against Denver would have really changed anything. They would have still had the matchup advantage, I think, as well, like with Matt. Yeah, they've had matchup benefits against the Lakers. They had that. Then against the Warriors, of course, they were without Steph. But I don't know if anything would change what we've seen so far in the series. The Minnesota Timberwolves are just going to have to shoot the ball better. They're going to have to shoot the ball better in the series against the Thunder if they're going to want to get back into it. And hopefully they can do that with the series shifting to home to them. And they better hope that they can, because if you're not going to have better shooting, you're going to get swept in this series, period.
Naz Reid, 0 for 12. That's tough.
Crazy.
That's tough to come back from. All right, coming up on the Locked On NBA podcast, we're going to turn our attention to Game 2 tonight between the Knicks and the Pacers and what adjustments each team needs to make if they want to win that game. And we'll pop around the association. Denver, they hire a new coach. At least they take an interim tag off, but they haven't hired a new GM. We'll get Matt's thoughts on that and all NBA teams. We've got the all defense team, all NBA team tonight. I'll get Matt and Hayes' takes on who might be left off that all NBA list. That's all coming up on Locked On NBA. Today's episode of Locked On NBA is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. The NBA playoffs, they are at full throttle. Highlight dunks, wild momentum swings, and players showing up in huge moments. If you're locked into every game like we are here on this podcast, why not turn that energy into a win? FanDuel makes it super easy to get on the action. You can track playoff performances and jump into same-game parlays based on how things unfold. If you see a player heating up mid-game, add a prop on the fly. You can even combine live bets as the game changes. There are just more ways to play smart and cash in. If you believe in the Pacers' devil magic, you can get them as a 6-point dog tonight to New York in Game 2. OKC, meanwhile, a 2.5-point favorite heading to Minnesota for Game 3. Or if surfing is more your speed, you can get American Bella Kenworthy in the round of 16 of the Women's Margaret River Pro at plus 220. Molly Picklum, the Aussie, at minus 310. Let me just tell you, no chance. And here's the best part. If you're new to FanDuel, now's the perfect time. Sign up, place your $5 bet, and if it wins, you're going to get $200 in bonus bets. So why wait? Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. More Locked On NBA ahead. Thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. Matt, Hayes, I'm going to reveal something. As soon as this podcast is over and I get it posted, I'm going to race to the movie theater and see the opening of the new Mission Impossible movie. So just very quickly, Hayes, down 0-2 now, going back to Minnesota. Is this Mission Impossible for the Wolves? Because I think you just heard Matt there say OKC winning the finals. Is this Mission Impossible, or do we have to wait for one more road game?
I think we got to wait for one more road game. This in normal circumstances, I would say that, but this whole playoffs has taught me never say never. And I would not be surprised if the Minnesota Timberwolves come back and win the next 2 games, and then we're back at 0 with this series. So I won't say it yet, but if they go down 3-0, it's done.
You know, and all those stunts that Cruz does. I always remember the first one where he did the rope drop through the lasers. Sure, just imagine that, only him like smacking into the ground or like flying off of a cliff and then just like that is honestly what's happening to the rest of the league trying to face the Thunder. You're not beating OKC 4 out of 5 times. You're not doing it. You are not beating OKC 4 out of 5 times. They've lost twice in a row, I think like 3 times, and the last one was back in January. You're not beating OKC 4 out of 5 times. I like these teams in the East. I think this Eastern Conference Finals is really compelling. I like both of these squads. I do not think they can match up with OKC. OKC in winning Game 2 won the NBA title.
Tom Cruise is not running through that door. What's that?
For petty purposes, clip that rant by Matt just now. I need that clip for petty purposes. Thank you.
All right, Knicks-Pacers, Game 2 tonight. Game 1, an extremely tough act to follow. It was an upside-down game where I think that like strong positive or negative takeaways risk being immediately proven wrong in Game 2. Locked On Pacers host Tony East isn't falling into the trap. He warns that there were serious issues before Aaron Nesmith went Super Saiyan, issues that need addressing if they want to win the series.
I think that frustrated the Pacers is they were not finishing defensive possessions. What I mean by that is they had so many plays where they would defend well for something between 18 and 22 seconds of defense and then bail the Knicks out by not getting the rebound or by fouling late in the clock or just there were a ton of things that had caused this to happen. It happened a bunch in the fourth quarter. First possession, they fouled Mikal Bridges in the corner, like with 1 on the shot clock. They found 3-point shooters left and right. Like finishing possessions and defensive discipline, they aren't technically hand in hand, but they're close, are two things that I think the Pacers will be looking in the mirror at like, man, like that's like 10 points left on the table of just defend good for 1 more second and that possession looks totally different, or fight harder on the glass for half a second and that possession looks totally different. Keep an eye on that as something the Pacers will have a focus on.
That's the Pacers angle. Knicks head coach Tom Thibodeau says that everything is on the table in terms of lineup changes after the Game 1 loss. I feel like this has been a postseason of impossible stats. So here's another one. The Knicks starting 5 has played the most minutes of any playoffs lineup. But Hayes, they are a minus 68 in the postseason. Minus 68, played the most minutes. Will we finally see a lineup change, or will it take going to Indiana down 0-2?
Yeah, I wouldn't change too much. I mean, when you look at this for either team, when you look at every quarter, there was the largest margin between either team in any quarter of Game 1 was 5, and that was in the second quarter. So they played close. If you're going to look like the quarter by quarter, they were close in everything. True shooting percentage all throughout that entirety of the game. And so I think it was a close game, and it looked that way even when you finished in overtime. Of course, the Knicks had that spurt in the fourth quarter. I mean, in the third quarter, and then of course the Pacers went on that ridiculous run, they did in the fourth quarter. But I don't think either team needs to drastically change anything right now. I think that you can make a case that either team rightfully could have come out of that game with the win. The Pacers just played much better, and they had a ridiculous stretch down there to pull it away. So I'm not changing anything too drastically, at least at the start of the game, but I'm going to watch to see what the story that develops in this game is before I make any crazy changes to the lineups or anything.
Even if I thought Tom Thibodeau would actually change a starting lineup in Game 2 of the conference finals, which I don't know what's the move. You go double big. Okay, if you go double big, right, you have to play drop. And now Halliburton is just burning you. He gets the pick on either Towns or Mitchell Robinson. Like, you will destroy them on the glass, no question. They're going to run you off the court. There's no way for you to be able to handle in space. They've got too many shooters. So I don't think that's viable. They could go small, I guess, maybe. But, like, are you really – what do you got to do? But you got to bench OG? That doesn't make any sense. Like, there's no real option here for them to kind of change their lineup. They can change some of the assignments. They can sharpen up on some things. I thought the Pacers really just kind of got away from their game plan when they went down big by 17. That over the course of the second and third quarter, Indiana got a little away from how disciplined and sharp they've been in these playoffs, including in that first quarter and in that last 3 minutes of the fourth in terms of their execution. So I think Tibbs could change a bunch, but I will say I try not to overreact to game ones. I underreacted to the Wolves game 1. I kind of think that Indiana might win tonight too.
All right, let's leave the playoffs for a moment and pop around the rest of the association, beginning in Los Angeles, where offseason success for the Lakers may be best measured in pounds. How many they can add to their center position and how many they can drop from their star guard. Here's Locked On Lakers with more.
What Luka does this offseason is incredibly important. The Lakers have made a point. JJ Redick talked very openly at the end of the season about needing to be achieve championship level fitness. If you're looking for early signs that maybe Luka is taking it seriously, Jason Gallagher, who is a producer of the Mind the Game podcast with LeBron James, he said this about Luka. I've heard from folks that are pretty honest about the conditioning stuff or whatever, that Luka has already begun to clean slate, like starting anew. He's already like in this mindset of changing a lot about himself. Now, I've heard it before, but not from specific people that have been critical of him.
All right, Matt, do you buy it? Is Luka on the way to a newer, better, fitter self?
One, I love Jason. He's done so many cool things, and you should go follow him on Twitter. I love Jason Gallagher. Jason's also a massive Luka fan. Like, he is a massive Luka fan. Like, he is an incredible Luka fan. Like, he has burned the organization to the ground for trading this player. I don't care that you got Cooper Flagg. Totally reasonable position to have, but he's a massive Luka fan. So, like, I'm going to take it with a grain of salt. Like, you're going to have to show me. Like, you're just going to have to show me, right? Like, you can talk about whatever it is that you want to do. He comes into camp next season and looks like the Terminator, then we can buy in, Hayes. That's where I'm at.
I agree with that. Like, if Luka comes in and he looks like he's in ridiculous shape, hats off to him. But like, this point, Luka's Luka. He's been great. He's been MVP talks with how he's played. Like, I don't know. I'm not saying I don't know. It really depends on how serious he takes what quote unquote got him out of Dallas. What one of the reasons that they used, and if he takes that personal and wants to fix his conditioning and things like that, so he can come in, so it eliminates any and all questions with the contract extension pending and all that, then Luka very well could. But I'm not going to expect him to do a complete 180 on what he does in his offseason program all of a sudden until I see. You got to show me. I'm from the show me state. Show me.
I also look. If let's say he drops significant weight, he will not be as good. I'm not kidding, because so much of his game is the ability to bump guys off for that step back. And if he loses that strength, you honestly lose a little bit in terms of just like the size. So he needs to like bulk up. He needs to just convert to muscle, right? Which I think is good. It might be difficult with his frame. I don't know exactly what that weight plan looks like, or that conditioning plan looks like, but I don't think it's as simple as like just drop weight. I don't think that's it. It's going to have to be like him actually adding, I just think, muscle while still adding to explosiveness. And that can be tricky with soft tissue injury. So I think there's like a lot of give and take to kind of manage here.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Matt. The conditioning versus the actual like staring at the scale sort of thing. And I'm sure that, they've these sports medicine folks, I mean, they've got this down to a science. They know what they're doing. But how did you see that affect Luka in that first round series against Minnesota for the Lakers? Like, what would a more fit, what would a more conditioned Luka allow the Lakers to do that they couldn't do in that first round series?
I mean, I think the best thing that would happen there is if he is more explosive and lighter, then he can turn more quickly as the guy goes right past him to the rim. So like he gets a much better view of that defender beating him off the spot and scoring on him, which I think is really cool for him.
Hayes.
Yeah, I think so. So I think it allows him to be more active defensively. The condition is the biggest thing with Luka. Luka just looked gassed, and that's happened in just about every playoff series that he's been in. So yeah. I think it just allows him to better stand the test as series goes on, the longer series goes on. I think having a better Luka down the stretch of games is definitely going to help that Lakers team.
I have a tip for Luka.
A less tired Luka in the clutch is terrifying.
Yeah,
a less tired Luka in clutch time is terrifying.
Well, I have a tip for Luka. If you get an edible arrangement from Nico Harrison, deny it. Say, no thanks. I'm good. I don't. Okay, coming up on Locked On NBA, we're going to continue to pop around the association. Denver takes the interim tag off of David Adelman, but they do it too soon? And the all-defense team is announced, and the all-NBA team will be announced tonight. I'll get Matt and Hayes' take on that as well, plus our favorite things of the week coming up on Locked On NBA. Thanks again for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. Make sure you're checking out Locked On NBA Game Night. It's every game. It's every night. We have games every night now, so make sure you're getting the recap on Knicks-Pacers from Locked On NBA Game Night. It's on this feed on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. All right, so the Denver Nuggets take the interim tag off of their head coach, David Adelman. Was this the right move, Matt? And did they do it too soon? Because they don't have a GM yet, right?
Yeah, it's a disaster. So I think Adelman's a great coach. Adelman is a great coach. Players love him. He has the trust in the organization. He has the right mindset. It's a new voice. He should bring in new ideas. I would expect probably some changes in the assistant coaching staff, etc. Good hire. Doing this before you have decided on GM is disastrous. Now, there was a lot of expectation in Denver circles that Ben Tenzer, the acting interim GM, would be announced as the full-time GM. That I think is the fact that didn't happen. I'm not going to read too much into. It might just be as simple as contract negotiations. What I will say, though, is even if they hire Tenzer, who obviously has a longstanding relationship with Adelman, you are still not giving Tenzer the ability to hire his guy. You just got done with the situation where you had tension between the front office and the coach that created a toxic environment because the GM did not want the coach because it wasn't his guy. They are always going to want their guy. Always. It is exceptionally rare that you have a situation where a GM is added, a coach is pre-existing, and that never comes to a head. I do not understand the process of evaluating this. Firing Michael Malone and Calvin Booth, and then going to a situation where inherently the coach is not going to be 100% in line with the GM because the GM will not have hired him. I just think it's bad process, Hayes. Adelman was the right coach, but the decision was the wrong process.
Coming from a Chicago Bears fan, which for the last 12 years, we've gone through a cycle of get a new coach, fire the GM, get a new quarterback, new GM, new coach. Like we've never had alignment, right? It's so head scratching that you would put yourself in that situation when you don't have to, when you've made the decision to remove the coach and the GM. You didn't bet on one of those guys. You said, we're just going to clear it out, start over. And now you make this head coaching hire before you have your GM in place. Maybe there's already contract negotiations going on. Maybe there's already been something that there's an agreement that's going to be the unit, their interim GM, their interim coach. They're going to be made the permanent in those roles, and they're already in agreement. Maybe that is. But from the optics standpoint, it just seems like the timing of it is a little bit weird. I'm not saying you had to go out and interview 5 more coaches if that's who you're sure that you want to be there and he's earned that role, but you just think that you would want better alignment and just to present a better front after why you moved on from your front office and your head coach to begin with.
Let me just steel man this a little bit. If he's your guy, if you know he's the guy, then why not just make him the guy? And that's what they did. And you don't allow there to be any kind of bad feelings about not doing that after having made the previous move of removing Mike Malone and not allowing him to interview with anyone else. And if you bring in GM candidates, you just say, well, he's the guy. So are you with the guy or you're not with the guy? And if you're not, you're out.
I think the problem is, let's say you bring in a new GM that's got a different vision than what the team currently is. Adelman's a great coach for this team. Is this the team you want? Is this a team that you think is good enough? Is this the team with 5 playable guys what you want here? Shouldn't be the goal to improve the roster around Nikola Jokic? Because that was the other problem with yesterday's press conference by Josh Kroenke, the acting governor, is that he was talking about how we heard Nikola Jokic's comments loud and clear about needing more guys, and then was asked what's the path forward, and he said internal development. So there's no way out of this that doesn't include them making major changes to this. They're going to have to break up the core 4. And if you're going to break it up, then you're going to need a guy that can pull that off. And if you're going to do that, you hired a coach for a roster that is probably shouldn't be the roster. And this is kind of my problem. Again, I think Adelman's going to do great. I'm just saying I'm concerned about how this could work out.
There have been a lot of interesting developments that have come as a result, a domino effect of the CBA in terms of player movement. There's been a lot of things that it's affected. I think one of the more interesting or at least comical things to me is that it has put so many of these organizations in sort of impossible situations, and the PR and the statements that come out as a result when people have to say almost the opposite of what they know they must do because they're waiting to the last possible second to actually make the impossible decision. There's been a lot of unreality. I talk a lot about that on Locked On Hornets with what the Hornets are dealing with. A lot of unreality going on. Yep. Let's talk about these teams that have been announced. All defense team announced. 2 Thunder players, Dort and J-Dub, both make the cut. It's the only team, the OKC Thunder, with multiple players on the all defense team. Hayes, any issues with who made it or who didn't make it?
No, I think this is the one year where just about everybody that made sense to me. Zubac, I think, is definitely deserved on that. I was a little surprised to see his name, but he deserved it. Zubac put together such a solid season this year for that Clippers team. And keep in mind, I don't like saying anything good about the Clippers, so I think he deserved it. I look at this list, it all checks out to me. I'm glad Lou Dort's on there. Draymond even earned it. So yeah, not Clippy. That's funny. I forgot about that.
Can't forget about Clippy. Matt, any issues?
Yeah, I got a couple. So I don't think Draymond should have been first team. I'm never gonna get off of this. Like, I get it. He's a legend. He's had incredible defensive seasons. I just don't find this one to have been what the narrative shaped up around him to be. How are the Magic not on this list? Number 2 defense in the league. Number 3 schedule adjusted, and not a single representative. Not a single one. Nobody. Not a single one. Like, I think it's cool that Tamani Cameron got in there, but like, the Blazers were not a top 10 defense. On some level, you need your defensive impact needs to translate onto the floor, and it needs to actually impact the number of points that the opponent scores per possession. Houston not getting any credit here too. Very weird. I understand it's kind of hard to separate some of these guys. I get that. Honestly, though, if we're being honest, shouldn't the all defense teams 1 through 10 just be the Thunder? Like, shouldn't it just be 10 Thunder guys? And we could call it
Caruso didn't qualify, right? I think.
Yeah, I think that's a point. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Doug.
No, I was saying I don't think Caruso qualified, right? I think he missed too many games.
Or Chet. Yeah. So, I mean, look, if we took off those qualifiers, Chet would have been first team and Caruso would have been second team. And I think Case and Wallace should have been second team too. It's disgusting how many defenders they have.
That's a point to make about the Magic too. Like, a lot of their better defenders didn't qualify because of the number of games played.
Yeah.
All right, real quickly, all NBA teams will be announced tonight. Matt, what's the one name you feel like is on the bubble that you'd like to see, crack into that all NBA third team list?
Tyrese Halliburton better be on this list. I had him first selection, second team. He better be on this list. If he is not, boy, are they going to look stupid. And I get it. It's a regular season award. I say that all the time. It's not hard to figure out here, guys. He was top 5 in EPM, top 3 in offensive EPM. Fine. You don't like the advanced metrics? Cool. One of the league's assist leaders, led one of the best offenses in the league for a team that wound up with a 4 seed. This is not hard. Tyrese Halliburton better be on these teams.
Hayes?
You mean the most overrated player in the league, Matt? The most overrated? No, I agree. Tyrese Halliburton, like, he's had such a good season. And I love that Tyrese Halliburton is having this run. We'll get into that when we get into our best of the week, because like, there was so much kind of shade thrown towards him after that most overrated player moniker. So I hope that he's on, and I'm happy for the postseason he's been having here.
All right, very quickly, our favorite things of the week. Hayes, give me one.
The choke. Come on now. That's as a petty person, that's going to be anything petty for the week is going to be my favorite thing of the week. That was such an amazing moment. And to have Reggie Miller there to do the point, like, it's such a great moment.
I'm going to go with all the historical stuff on the broadcast about this Knicks-Pacers rivalry, and just getting to like go back to being that age for me has been really cool to see all those kind of, like, to remember what it was like growing up watching those in my bedroom and losing my mind over Reggie versus the Knicks has been extremely fun for me. And I love that there's like this new rivalry being built between these two teams. That to me is really fantastic. I think what's a shame is, like, is there anything that we really love from Thunder Wolves so far? It's been like the Thunder killed them. That's it.
All right, well, hopefully the Knicks-Pacers can deliver another classic. My favorite thing of the week was John Corrales, his analysis on what the Celtics have been missing this season.
Kill.
If you like what you heard today, subscribe to Locked On NBA wherever you get podcasts, including on YouTube. Thanks to Matt and Hayes for their expertise every day, every week. Thank you for making Locked On NBA your first listen and supporting the show. For your second listen, make sure you're checking out Locked On NBA Game Night, every game, every night. Enjoy our beautiful game tonight. Be kind to each other. We'll see you right back here next week on Locked On NBA.